Hey yo, how's it going guys? Bringing y'all today the second episode of the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Draft League analysis with my boy Mr. TTM Jolt here.
What's going on, guys? Let it be known, this is the fourth time Leo's tried this intro. Anyway, continue.
Okay, we'll just spoil everything behind the scenes. But yes, fourth time is the charm, because I can't speak. But yeah, if you guys may have missed our first episode, it was actually uploaded on my channel and Jolt's channel. For those of you who may have missed it, from now on it will be alternating. So on Thursdays, you'll have an episode on my channel, and then on Mondays, you'll have an episode on the TTM Jolt YouTube channel. So a channel link to that will be down below, as well as a link to the playlist if you guys may have missed any previous episodes, or if you're watching this in the future, then you can come back to this. But for this episode, we will be doing Gyarados and Mega Gyarados. And I think I'll let Jolt start it off here.
Yeah, alright, so let's start off by talking a little bit about the stats on these two Pokemon. They obviously are, pretty different in terms of their bulk, their typing, just really what they can do. So we'll start with regular Gyarados. Gyarados has base 95 HP, 125 attack, base 60 special attack, 79 defense, 100 special defense, and 81 speed, while Mega Gyarados has base 155 attack, base 95 HP, 70 special attack, 109 defense, 130 special defense, and 81 speed. So right out of the way, they do have the exact same speed tier, which 81, not the best overall for the Let's Go metagame, but it's still not terrible. It's going to be able to outspeed pretty much all of the bulkier mons, and especially in the case of Mega Gyarados, that's really all it needs to do, given its other stats, that enormous attack stat and that good bulk. It's going to be able to take hits from stuff that's faster than it and dish out a lot of damage to the majority of mons, which are going to be slower than it as well. So I would say Mega Gyarados is just a really well-rounded Pokemon. Definitely has a pretty optimal stat distribution, honestly, for what its move pool is capable of, for the utility it can provide for a team. I think that Mega Gyarados definitely is one of the absolute best bulky waters in the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee metagame. It might even be the best bulky water, and we can maybe talk about that a little bit later on. Regular Gyarados, it's definitely a little bit more frail. With its defenses, its HP stat is still going to be the same, obviously, as its Mega form, but the reduced defenses does hinder it a little bit from a bulk standpoint. Also, a reduced attack stat, which would be expected coming from a non-Mega evolved form, but even so, it is still a very strong special attack stat relative to many of the other Pokemon in the game. So definitely still proves to be a strong offensive threat. But Leo, tell us a little bit about the movesets on these Pokemon.
I did want to chime in real quick on something. The type difference also is kind of huge for both of them. It affects exactly what they can do.
Definitely.
And we'll get into roles after I talk about the move pools here, which, I mean, since they're regular Mega form, they basically have the exact same move pool. But the nice thing about Mega Gyarados is that it can actually use its special coverage and its dark stab a little bit better. Unfortunately, in Let's Go, there is no fly or bounce, so Gyarados's flying typing is actually kind of useless. It's a really big hindrance to Gyarados if you think about it, which is a little bit unfortunate. But they still are able to hit respectively hard. Like base 60 special attack from regular Gyarados is not the best, and then it gets bumped up a little bit to base 70. But those moves like Ice Beam, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, if they're hitting something super effective, are still going to be doing pretty good damage. And the great thing about it too is that when it comes to Mega Gyarados, because of its boost and its physical attack stat, it's able to dish out even more damage. And I really feel like just having that secondary coverage with the crunch is also just a huge added benefit to the power of Gyarados in the long run. So there's not really too much to say about their move pool, honestly. Their best water stab is obviously Waterfall, no flying stab for Gyarados, which really sucks. They do have some nice phasing moves with Dragon Tail because they don't get access to Roar, and they can also be some type of hazard control because of Taunt and speed control because of Thunder Wave. So those are nice little tech moves that they can also carry. And in a format in Let's Go where you want to ensure that you're faster than your opponent and you want to stop them from getting up hazards, Taunt and Thunder Wave are very, very good in my opinion. So with that, we're going to go into the key roles that they each do, and they do roles a little bit differently. So Joe can go over the roles here.
Yeah, for sure. They are definitely different Pokemon in terms of what they're going to do for your team. So, starting off with regular Gyarados, the cool thing about Gyarados is that it does only have the 2 weaknesses in Rock and Electric, and it is able to take advantage of that by really only being, I guess, truly threatened by those 2 types. It's able to take at least 1 hit from literally any other type. I would argue that there's probably not a single other Pokemon in the game that's able to knock it out without a super effective hit in 1 hit. So it does have enough bulk to take advantage of its typing. So that's definitely a nice niche for Gyarados. It also has that flying typing, which gives you a ground immunity for your team, and that's always something that's really nice to have in draft format. I'm trying to think how many decent ground types there are in Kanto. I think there's still like a decent handful. Like there's the Nidos, for example, that are pretty solid ground types. Rhydon's another example. Obviously, Rhydon has Rock Stab that Gyarados wouldn't appreciate, but even so, it would be able to outspeed and always switch in on an Earthquake if you predict correctly. So that flying typing is obviously really nice. And I guess the only other thing to point out on this that I've already kind of mentioned before is it does have the high base attack stat, so it's able to serve as a strong offensive Pokemon for your team. In terms of being a bulky water type for your draft, this is still going to be one of the strongest options you have from an offensive or a bulky offensive standpoint. So that's what Gyarados has going for it. As for Mega Gyarados, obviously it has more offensive prowess with 30 extra base points in its attack stats, so it's going to be a really good physical breaker for your team. Also, both of these Pokemon are going to be good support, like Leo was mentioning, from having moves like Taunt and Thunder Wave. So from a utility support standpoint, both of these are going to be able to provide that role for your team as well. Mega Gyarados also has the higher defense and special defense stats, which does make it much more annoying as a bulky Pokemon. It makes it a little bit better, in my opinion, as a bulky water, despite the fact that it does have those added weaknesses from picking up the dark typing and losing the flying typing that its regular form had. So overall, both of these Pokemon are relatively versatile. Mega Gyarados a little bit more so, in my opinion, but certainly some of the best bulky waters you could possibly pick up for your drafts in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Yeah.
All right, since Jolt's bad at transitioning, I will be going over checks and counters here. So this this actually kind of started to dawn on me that unlike Mega Aerodactyl and regular Aerodactyl, Gyarados and Mega Gyarados are kind of more simplistic in what exactly they can do, and they are a little bit more limited. So they actually have some decent checks and counters, unlike regular Aero Mega Aerodactyl, which was from episode 1, which you guys should go check out, by the way. So when it comes to checks and counters to regular Gyarados and Mega Gyarados, for regular Gyarados' case, because it does have that flying typing, it is 4 times weak to electric type moves, and in Let's Go they are a bunch of mons that are not only able to learn electric moves but can also outspeed Gyarados, which really sucks because that's where that flying typing does kind of hinder it once again, because you can easily just slap on any type of electric move if you're faster than Gyarados and smack it for 4 times super effective damage, and it doesn't even need to be stab. When it comes to checks for Mega Gyarados, obviously it does not have the problem of the 4 times weakness. However, though, it does gain more weaknesses once it Megas, so fast fighting types, fast bug types, and even still some speedy electric types are going to be able to threaten Mega Gyarados and be able to check them. As for counters, though, bulky waters and bulky grass types are typically the best way to deal with Gyaradoses, just because they don't have the best special attacks, so even something like Thunderbolt or Fire Blast will not necessarily be doing entirely too much damage, but they do kind of have the edge on grass types because there's not a single grass type in Let's Go that is faster than either of these two. However, though, once again, most of those grass types can tank a especially offensive move coming from regular Gyarados and Mega Gyarados. So they do have some pretty solid checks, even though the checks are very different, that can help and hinder them, but for the most part the counters are typically the same. So from here we're going to go into our last little topic, which is where do we think these mons should be drafted. So I will let Jolt start this one off.
Alright, so I'll start with Mega Gyarados since that one's a little bit more straightforward. Mega Gyarados, plain and simple, like I kind of implied earlier on in the video, I think is the best bulky water in the format for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so I think it does deserve to go in the first round. In terms of how early in the draft order I think it should go, I think it can vary a lot. A lot just depends on how much that player values their bulky water on their draft. I personally think that Mega Gyarados should go around like the 5 to 7 range in terms of where it's picked up. But again, that really does depend on how many of like the really strong Amons are actually banned in the league. For example, stuff like Melmetal, Mew, Mega Alakazam, Mega Gengar, those types of Amons I think all would go before Mega Gyarados, or at least should. But if those are all banned, then hey, Mega Gyarados might just work its way up a little bit higher in the first round. But for regular Gyarados, it's a little bit trickier. Again, it comes down to, you know, how many people are in your league and what Mons are banned. But I would think that regular Gyarados probably should get picked up in the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round. I don't know. It's the tricky part about Gyarados is it is one of the best bulky waters, but it's checked by so many things since there are a lot of Pokemon that are both faster than it and have access to electric coverage or even rock coverage. Gyarados is significantly hindered by that quad weakness to electric, so that's the only reason why I'm not like super high on Gyarados being a top 3 round pick. I think Leo has a slightly different opinion on that, and I'll let him talk about that in a second. But yeah, Gyarados, I honestly would more so like personally pick it in the 4th round. It's still a solid bulky water. It's still strong for your team offensively and as utility, but it's just so easily checked that I don't know if it deserves to be in the top 3 rounds. But what do you think, Leo?
I agree on Mega Gyarados. Like round 1 is definitely worth, especially if like the regular Mons that are too good for Let's Go are banned, as Jolt went over them. So Gyarados, I think, can definitely go like top 5, maybe even top 3, depending on how things go. Mega Gyarados, I feel like it's a regular Gyarados. I feel like is a decent round 3-ish pick. I feel ultimately when it comes to Gyarados, it really depends on what exactly you're going to want Gyarados to do. Like, yeah, it can be a bulky water, but you still want to be able to try and patch that up with something. And if maybe some other waters have been picked before Gyarados, which could be very likely just because the 4 times weakness might not seem appealing to some people. So I could see why it may not go something like round 2, but I think it has justifiable meanings to go like mid round 3, maybe late round 3, or even early round 3 if somebody has like a wheel or something. But yeah, I think round 3, round 4 is pretty justifiable for Gyarados, and then Mega Gyarados definitely round 1. If it goes round 2, that's an absolute steal, honestly. Like, it's still a very, very good Mega in the format regardless.
And also back on Gyarados too, like if someone does pick up Gyarados in like round 3 or even round 2, I really think you want to pair it with a good ground type. Like, for example, like you said, if it's on a wheel, it could make sense to take it in the early 3rd round if you're pairing it with something like Nidoking or Nidoqueen, 2 of the better ground types, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think that combination could be pretty solid, since that will be able to cover Gyarados' primary weaknesses very well. So just something to think about if you're planning to draft Gyarados on your teams. I think pairing it with a ground type is definitely nice.
But yeah, guys, that is our thoughts and opinions on Gyarados and Mega Gyarados for this episode. If you did enjoy, hit that thumbs up button down below. Let us know what Pokemon you would like to see next in the comment section below, and do not miss the episode going up on Monday, which will be on Jolt's channel. You can find that down in the description. So with that being said, that's all I have to say. Anything else, Mr. Jolt?
Nothing else from the peanut gallery. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you all in the next one. Peace.
Later.